I'll give you the green light.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Really excited to have you here in the city of Tempe for our electric vehicle charging station event with Act Now on Climate. I'm Tempe Mayor Corey Woods, and I just have a few remarks, then we'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the speakers. So I wanted to first of all thank everyone for being here today and for inviting me to speak. As mayor of a growing city, it's truly pivotal that we take the time to express our vision for the future and the needs of our community so that Congress can hear the stories and examples of what is taking place on the ground at the level closest to the people. The City of Tempe's focus on sustainable development, density, and public transportation is central to our city's long-term planning and investment in clean energy, environmental justice, and climate solutions, and can have a huge impact on how efficiently and effectively we make these goals happen. The City of Tempe sees the opportunity of transit and transportation investment as not only a strategy to create a seamlessly connected and inclusive city, but also as being an opportunity for job creation and availability of affordable housing. We see reducing carbon emissions as an opportunity to ensure equity amongst our population. Investing in carbon solutions means providing resources to our most vulnerable populations, especially when the temperatures skyrocket. Tempe is very well known for the light rail that runs through the ASU campus and connects to neighboring cities, Phoenix and Mesa. On top of being early adopters of multimodal transportation options, Tempe is also opening up a modern streetcar line in early 2022. The Tempe streetcar is a project funded in partnership with the federal government. It's going to spur economic growth and housing opportunities while also bringing in clean energy jobs. Tempe is going to continue to hone in on its clean transportation efforts, with our recent work also on supporting electric vehicles. We are working internally at the city to electrify our fleet. We have a citywide feasibility study currently going on, and that feasibility study is trying to discover where would the best locations be for more electric vehicle charging stations throughout our entire city and for our city fleet of vehicles. And we're also making continued investments to convert our bus rapid transit system to all electric vehicles. We're going to continue working with our community, along with the business community and the Tempe Chamber of Commerce, to better understand electrical vehicle charging needs as well as demand. We'll continue to dedicate time and resources in exploring pilot policies and programs with our utility partners that would advance the entire state of Arizona when it comes to a clean energy future and fulfilling our full transportation needs. If we want to see major shifts in the clean energy transportation economy within the next few years, not 10 years from now, not 20 or 30 years, but in the next few years, it's going to take all of us. Tempe is investing in this transition with support from the region, and state and federal efforts will greatly help us to accelerate everything we're working on doing. So we definitely encourage Congress and everyone to join in Tempe's clean energy fight to make sure that we can really see change, not in 10 years, not in 20 years, but over the next few years. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Columba Sainz, who's the Arizona Field Consultant for Mom's Clean Air Force. Columba.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here with elected officials, climate leaders, and my son, Eros. To have the opportunity to represent Mom's Clean Air Force and Ecomatis. Mom's Clean Air Force has more than 1 million moms and dads, and our mission is to protect children from air pollution and climate change. We envision a safe, equitable future where all children breathe clean air. I am Columba Sainz. I'm the state organizer, mother of 3 little ones who love to spend time outdoors, but because of wildfires, extreme heat, and high pollution, and extreme weather, most days it's safer to stay indoors. Low-wealth communities and communities of color are more likely to live in areas with high levels of hazardous air pollution, including areas near high traffic zones and highways. In some cases, for our community, that's what we can afford. Pollution has been linked to a variety of health problems and health, including aggravating asthma and other respiratory illnesses, cardiovascular conditions, and even premature death. Just to give you an example, my daughter Columba, after we moved to a high polluted zone, she started wheezing after 2 months. Our children and future generations have the right to a better and healthier planet, improving public health and achieving environmental justice. Our children and future generations deserve to breathe clean air. And this is why we need big, bold federal investments in clean transportation. We need Congress to protect our health, fight climate change, and take steps to invest in clean vehicles. This is why we urge our senators, Mark Kelly and Kirsten Sinema, to continue supporting clean energy growth and investments in electric vehicle market in order to improve public health and create economic opportunity for all Arizonans. Thank you. Gracias.
Next up, I'd like to invite a close personal friend of mine for well over 15 years. Someone, when I talk about, who has really taught me everything I know when it comes to climate change and sustainability issues. That's not me just making a comment. That is actually the complete 100% truth. The person who has been a leader and the climate champion for the Tempe City Council, and frankly, a leader in the entire state when it comes to a clean energy future. That is Councilmember Lauren Kuby.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. I'll send you your check later on. So, and I am so proud of my city of Tempe. You know, we are leading by creating an electric vehicle roadmap for our city. We're creating an electric vehicle roadmap for our community. And we have the highest electric vehicle adoption of, I think, 17 cities and towns that buy electric vehicles for their fleet. So thank you, Mayor Woods, for leading the way. And happy World Electric Vehicle Day, everyone.
Yay.
I'm gonna go out to Baskin Robbins to buy my World Electric Vehicle Day cake today. But I want to give you a bit of a larger perspective. So proud of my city, but I want to step back and look at the state. And we know that fossil fuels are poisoning our water and our air. In fact, air quality in Arizona is amongst the most polluted in the nation. And studies are showing that Arizonans, more than the rest of the country, will suffer from the effects of climate change. And with that, our health, our family's health, as Columba so eloquently pointed out, our safety and the economic vitality of our region and our state, they're all at risk. So we are at an inflection point in our history where we are envisioning and building a city, a state, and a nation that is powered by clean energy. Climate action more and more is translating into electrify everything. The way we cool our homes, using electric water heaters instead of gas, electric stovetops, electrification in industrial processes, and electric vehicles. The Build Back Better plan is about creating good, paying union jobs and building a clean energy future through big, bold investments in our infrastructure. So in 2020, Arizona was home to over 56,000 clean energy jobs. Sounds like a lot, right? It's not enough. We rank 19th in the nation. We are the sunniest state in the nation. And we have jobs that create renewable energy, that create energy storage. We have jobs in energy efficiency. We have jobs in clean vehicles. And we have jobs in research in all of those aspects at our wonderful universities. So nationally, we're putting electricians and contractors to work in building a national network of 500,000 electric vehicle chargers. I wish that were electric bus, but it's not. And all this work is going to help automakers develop domestic capacity, domestic supply chains to create manufacturing jobs right here at home. right here in Arizona, right here in Tempe, not off across the world. We're building electric vehicles to compete with the foreign companies currently dominating the market. So as we modernize our transportation infrastructure, we see vast opportunities ahead in Arizona, especially if we adopt the Build Back Better budget. There is an entrepreneurial spirit that we see in Arizona. The EV manufacturer Nikola is building a $700 million plant in Coolidge, and Electric Mechanica has announced plans to establish its U.S. base of operations in Phoenix. And Lucid Motors, Casa Grande, they're locating another $700 million factory that will manufacture their first all-electric vehicle, 30,000 electric vehicles annually. Imagine that. And when it's up to all through its phases, 4 expansion phases, through 2028, they'll be producing 400,000 electric vehicles a year. And that will come with good union-paying jobs. We also see ADOT responding. They are building charging stations across I-10 to sort of close the gap between Phoenix and the Arizona-California border and Tucson and the Arizona-New Mexico border, because we want to make charging stations essential part of our infrastructure build-out. So we are poised as a state to lead on clean energy issues, especially in clean transportation. And there are strong majorities, strong voting majorities that exist around clean energy investment in our state. As I've often told the mayor and lectured him, climate is the great convener. We know we have the people with us and they want to see these investments. And we see local governments responding like Tempe and Phoenix and Mesa. And we also see businesses and communities responding like the businesses I mentioned before. So investments in clean energy and clean transportation are essential to meeting the nation's climate goals, regional climate goals, and our own city's climate goals that reduce air pollution, improve the public health, and spur our economy. And the Build Back Better plan, just to circle around, is about creating jobs and lowering costs. And when we invest in clean technologies, the budget will make things more affordable for middle-class families, working families, because lower electricity bills will result. People will save at the gas pump, and they'll save on heating and cooling costs through energy efficiency. So now is the time for Congress to support big, bold climate investments and spur an economy that benefits our health, our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. Thank you very much.
Next up, I'd like to invite another good friend here, Dr. Michael Kuby from Arizona State University's School of Geographical Sciences and Urban Planning. Dr. Kuby.
Thank you, Mayor Woods. And hello, everybody. Transportation is proving to be our toughest challenge in fighting both local smog and global air pollution, and global CO2 pollution. And as Mayor Woods mentioned, in order to do something about this and make a big dent about it, dent in it in the next 10 years, electric vehicles are really our only realistic solution. Transportation emits more CO2 than any other sector of the economy, and it's also growing the fastest. And not only that, but while these other sectors, power plants, industry, buildings, get their energy from a competitive mix of different energy sources, transportation still relies on petroleum for over 95% of its energy. So these facts are related. What makes it so hard to wean cars and trucks off of oil? So the first thing is, cars and trucks are mobile. They have to carry around their own energy. Oil, while very polluting, is quite good at packing a lot of energy into a small weight and volume. Thus, the first part of the Build Back Better EV plan emphasizes R&D in batteries so that they can cost less, hold more, and charge faster. That's going to be very important. Second, vehicles have to be able to add energy wherever they go. You can't get people to switch to EVs just by having a few stations near where they live. They need to, the stations need to enable us to get everywhere that we go. So in countries around the world, it took public investment to build this initial infrastructure out. But we've still got such a long way to go. And that's my research area, actually, at ASU. Thus, the second part of the plan is to increase the number of public charging stations from around 50,000 today to 250,000. And more importantly, to extend coverage to segments of the population that don't have good charging options now. This includes rural areas where people drive older cars, they drive longer distances, they drive larger cars, so they use more fuel. This includes multifamily housing, where residents often don't have a dedicated parking spot and no charging solutions. And this includes fast charging on highways, so that single car households will be able to have one car that can get everywhere they need to go. The third thing is, for the typical American family, cars are our second largest purchase after housing. EVs have lower operating, maintenance, and pollution costs over time, but the initial purchase cost is still higher. So a third key part of this Build Back Better EV plan is to extend the incentives that bring the purchase costs of EVs more in line with those of gasoline vehicles. There are other parts of the Build Back Better plan that support these three EV pillars: an improved electrical grid, more solar and wind so that green electricity is what goes into the car batteries, developing a domestic battery supply chain, replacement of diesel school buses and transit buses with electric and fuel cell buses. So to wrap up, to me, this is a plan that understands the urgency of quickly reducing both local air pollution and global CO2 pollution from transportation. But it also understands that the importance of convenient car transportation to most Americans. I believe we can and must break the stranglehold of oil on transportation by increasing zero-emission EVs from the 2% of new vehicle sales that they represent today to 50% by the end of this decade.
Thank you, Dr. Kuby. And I want to bring up now our final speaker, Joel Levin, who's the Executive Director of Plug-in America. Joel.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Woods. My name is Joel Levin, as mentioned. I'm the Executive Director of Plug-in America. So we are the National Association of Electric Vehicle Drivers. So the $174 billion package that President Biden has proposed to shift our transportation system to electricity is a big deal. It's a really big deal. We're talking about applying 21st century technology to completely restructure a 100-year-old industry that is really core to our economy. It will not be simple, but we are Americans. We are used to challenges like this. We've done things like this before. In 1961, President Kennedy challenged the country to go to the moon before the end of that decade. It was a bold, transformative vision that inspired a whole generation. It employed at its peak over 400,000 people. And like the moon landing, this is a transformational moment for America. In fact, the investment that President Biden has proposed is about 60% what the cost of the moon program was in today's dollars, but it'll actually more than pay for itself. And it will employ far more people than that. And in terms of the profound impact on our society, it will be much greater in terms of the economy, the workforce, our health, our environment. And Arizona stands to really benefit greatly from this investment as the state shifts into being really a leader on the high-tech economy. As mentioned before, there's 3 EV manufacturers that are already announced plans to invest and to manufacture here. There's a number of EV technology and supplier companies that are also shifting here. And the U.S. News and World Report actually did a story a couple of months ago, and they suggested that the Phoenix area could be the next great auto manufacturing hub in the United States. And if you want to know what that looks like, visit your neighbors in northern Nevada, in Reno, where Tesla built the Gigafactory, and the economy and all of northern Nevada is just booming, like you can't even imagine booming, and that could absolutely become the story here. So that's EV manufacturing. I also want to talk about EV fuel. So every year, Arizonans spend billions of dollars on petroleum, and that money all just goes right out of the state, right out of the economy. But when people buy electricity to fuel their cars, that money stays locally. That money pays for local jobs, building out the electric grid, producing renewable energy, installing charging stations. Electricity is very jobs intensive with good union jobs. So now I want to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret that no one knows except for the 2 million people that are already driving EVs in the country. EVs are not just good for the economy, good for public health, good for the climate, good for the economy. They're also more fun to drive. Driving an EV, it's not like you're eating your broccoli. It's not like you're doing this thing because it's good for you. Although in fact, it is good for you. But people drive EVs because they're a hoot to drive. Because the nature of the technology, you get maximum torque from the standstill, maximum acceleration. And if you don't know what that means, if you've never sat in an EV, try it, and you're going to be surprised. It's not a good car. So EVs are more fun to drive. They're more convenient to fuel. Most people fuel up at home in their driveway rather than driving to a gas station and getting stinky gasoline in your hands. They're also more convenient to maintain. There's no oil changes, there's no spark plugs. Most of the scheduled maintenance kind of goes away. Consumer Reports actually did a study, and they showed that maintaining an electric vehicle is about 50% of the cost of maintaining a gas car. So a very noticeable difference there. So that is all that we had for you this morning. I want to end with a call out to Senators Kelly and Sinema to really support this package that's working its way through Congress right now with all of the benefits that it offers for Arizona and for the whole country. So thank you very much.